Hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today we'll be taking a look at the Midwest here as we have a snowstorm happening all the way from Nebraska all the way up to Michigan, and then we'll take a look into the late week and we'll have a nor'easter for some parts of the Northeast. Could see the first accumulating snowfall of the year. But before that, could you please like and subscribe to the video? It truly means a lot to me. Right here we have the storm system affecting the Midwest. You have the low back by Missouri, and it's making its track north-northeast almost in this type of fashion. Anywhere above here, we'll see accumulating snowfall and could see a potentially heavy snowfall at times. Right now, this is the current map. You can see there is some snowfall in Wisconsin, central Iowa, and all the way back to Nebraska, as its storm starts to interact and form its own cold air and bring down cold air from Canada. Chicago will most likely be all rain. It might be some flakes mixing in at the end of the system, but the storm has been tracking more and more northeast as the trends have been showing recently. If we take a look at the National Weather Service here, you can see that you have winter storm advisories all the way back from Nebraska into Wisconsin, and then winter storm warnings in this pink area in Michigan, central and northern Michigan, which is winter storm warnings. You have, again, the advisories back from Nebraska all the way up to Wisconsin, and then that's pretty much it. If we take a look back to the GFS, you can see the storm, this run is 1 p.m., so 2 hours ago the storm was back by Missouri, which right now, that is pretty much the same case here. It hasn't moved much at all, but you can see by 7 p.m. it is still in Missouri, this storm. But as the time goes on, it starts to strengthen and interact with cold air more, and you have more snowy conditions for Wisconsin and Michigan. You can see in the backside, you can see some rain changing to snow by just west of Chicago, I would say. Northern and northwestern Illinois changing to snow, and then the storm moves out. You have a disturbance coming from the south that is going to try to make it up the coast, but then just go straight out off the coast. But before that happens, it has some precip making it up to the northeast. That has been a trend recently. The storm has been moving more and more north, so you have snow in the mountains of Virginia and West Virginia. At least on the GFS, it has some rain making it down to the coast of Long Island, New Jersey, and that moves away. At least on the GFS, it does not want to show it interacting with this cold air that is coming down from Canada and just wants to move it along. But if we take a look for next week, we can see that we have a storm system forming for the northeast. You can see that the storm is just off the coast of Maryland, and this wants to move in a north-northeast fashion, just like a nor'easter here. You can see you have some heavy to moderate snow on Long Island and coastal New Jersey and Connecticut. And then as we move along here, you can see the storm starts to move out. Notice how it doesn't go straight north and make rain for the coast, because you have a negative NAO, which is a blocking pattern, which also causes the cold high to sit just north of Maine and funnel the cold air down into the coast. This will be the first time in 2 years, actually, that we have a negative NAO at the time a storm is happening. This will be our first possible snowfall along the coast if this were to verify. If we take a look at the Canadian here, it shows the storm rapidly intensifying just off the coast, and then pretty heavy snow from Massachusetts down to Connecticut and on Long Island and New Jersey. If we continue, the storm moves out, and then the total snowfall that the Canadian is pretty absurd here. I would knock this totals by half, but as of right now, the Canadian wants to show a 12-inch span from almost all of Long Island back down to New Jersey, Washington, D.C., Virginia, back up to Pennsylvania, and back up through New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. Then anywhere in this pink is pretty much 6 inches plus, and that is a big span of the area. And if we go back to the GFS, anywhere where I had this is where the heaviest snowfall is, and the GFS almost agrees with that. But unlike the the Canadian, the heaviest snowfall is back towards just south of Boston, and again through New Jersey and Long Island and back out there. Now if we take a look to the National Weather Service here, you can see this doesn't extend out to Wednesday, but it extends far enough out for the storm that is happening in the Midwest to show what could happen. You can see 4 to 5 inches in central Iowa, 4 to 5 inches in eastern part of Nebraska, and then southern and eastern Wisconsin could also see 5 to 6 inches. But clearly, the jackpot for this system will be in central and northern Michigan here. You have 5 to 10 inches possible in this area. Well, excuse me, like 3 to 5 inches in this area, and then anywhere in here is 8 to 12 inches in this dark blue to pinkish color. Now, if we take a look to the European, you can see that the storm right now is in, at least by 1 p.m., is in western Missouri, and it makes its way north-northeast, showing heavy snowfall for southeastern Wisconsin and northern and central Michigan. As we continue, we can see the storm drop down into the Carolinas, and then the European actually shows some precip and some snow, possibly even getting down to the coast as far as New York. It starts to mix the precipitation down to the coast with sleet, but then the storm eventually moves out of its way, and the cold air stays and gets ready for another system to come for the Northeast. If we get a close-up here, you can see that the European for next week's storm is pretty intense, I gotta tell you. The Canadian and the European both have intense snowstorms that have snow all the way down to the coast of Long Island, some mixing, and then all the way back up into upstate New York and Pennsylvania. If we continue, you can see that storm starts to pivot out to the east, and you have the heaviest snowfall transfer down to the coast again, and then you have this heavy banding area for the coast and parts of interior Northeast. If you take a look at the total snowfall for the European that it shows for some reason central and northern New Jersey could see pockets of 5 to maybe even 6 inches of snow, which is all very overdone, which is why you need to, the European may be right on its track, but the total snowfall may not be correct here. If you take a look for next week's storm, you could see that pockets of Pennsylvania could see 22 to maybe even up to 24 inches of snow back from West Virginia into Pennsylvania. The coast will see 11 to maybe even pockets of 12 inches of snow, and yes, I really do think this is very much overdone here. So I would split these totals by a half anywhere where you live. Let's say you live right here, it's a 24-inch print, maybe 12 inches at least for that area. And then all the way on the coast, let's say that's 12, maybe 5 to 6 inches right here. Now, the European is the one and only, the European and Icon both show more of an inland track where the heaviest snowfall totals will be, but the Canadian and the GFS show a more coastal heavy snowfall event. So, right now, this is still 5 days out. I would wait until at least Sunday to get more information on this storm to see the exact track, because NAM will be in reach. But for now, we could just enjoy the fact that we will finally have a good snowstorm for parts of the Northeast. And before you leave, could you please like and subscribe to my channel? This means a lot to me, even though we barely get any views on some videos, and some videos we do. I really do enjoy making these videos. And I hope everybody has a great day, and stay tuned.